Ayo, Zempak here. Another day not working for the man. Hope you guys are doing well. This is the latest episode of my Questions from Friends series where I answer questions, random or not, from people that I know, or you guys, okay? So comment below if you have a question that you want me to answer, and I will get to it eventually, I promise, okay? So today's question is a simple one. Is China safe? Now, the person who asked me this has never been to China, and so I thought this is an interesting one to address because, I mean, this is the land where I was born, so I was very curious why anyone would have some major misconceptions about it. All right, so the short version of the answer is yes, it is. It is very safe for anything that a tourist would experience. It's, I would say, it's safer than most American cities. Let's be honest, okay? And I would say it's on par with most European capitals or first and second tier cities. Uh, let me be clear. I should mention that what I'm judging China on is like tier one or tier two cities. So anywhere where a foreign tourist might want to go, right? So if you're on a tour group, or if you're traveling yourself, but you're sticking to the major cities. This is because safety really can be taken in many different ways, right? Initially, what a visitor might experience is simply you're talking about like street crime, like muggings or murder or violent crimes. Those things almost never happen in China because the government comes down really hard on it. Okay, so that's the reality of it. The good thing is that makes the streets very safe. I've never even heard of anybody, feeling unsafe in the city in the middle of the night, in major cities, that is. Now, let me be clear. It doesn't mean that there's no crime. I just mean there's less violent crime, okay? One of the most popular crime that does exist is, like, you might get your, pocket picked, right? So, pickpockets. That's it. That's a real thing, okay? If you put your wallet in your back pocket or a coat pocket that's just, kind of out there, or in an open tote bag or something like that, those are all things that you should watch out for, okay? But pickpockets aren't violent crime, right? So it's the Chinese criminal's not that confrontational, is what I'm trying to get at. And you don't have to worry about things like gun violence or anything like that. I think for most of the world, that's the case. It's just that we as Americans are so used to it, right? Like, it's kind of funny to me. There's definitely crazy people in every part of the world, right? I've actually read some news article about a crazy guy in China who was trying to like slash at people with a samurai sword or just like an ancestral Eastern sword of some sort. And yeah, he managed to injure maybe like half a dozen people before the police kind of got to him, or some bystanders tackled him. Okay, so think about that, right? Like in the U.S., if you happen upon a crazy person who legally could have a gun, you could easily die, right? Not because of any political affiliation, but usually because these shooters just have mental health problems, right? Whereas in a country like China, if you chance upon a crazy person with a mental illness who's trying to attack you with a sword, you could just, run into a store and shut the door. Because you know what a sword is terrible against? A glass door. Okay? It takes so much effort, so much more effort to hurt someone or kill someone with a sword than a gun, that I think generally the worst that, like, if you're super unlucky and you happen upon a mentally challenged person in China, I don't know, maybe you'll get a cut and you have to go to the hospital, but you'll live. Okay. I want to expound on my initial answer of yes, China is safe though, against the backdrop of other types of crimes, right? Because every country has its ups and downs. In China, well, it doesn't have a lot of street level violent crime, like, so your personal safety should be fine. I wouldn't say it's all that great for other types of experiences, right? So if you're not just a tourist, if you're an expat going there to live, or even if you're just a person who lives there, there are other more insidious types of crime that does happen in China, just like it happens anywhere else. They just don't make the papers in the same section, okay? So when people talk about safety, usually they're talking about like street level crime, right? I just want to mention that, I don't think it's completely safe. Like, I don't think it's like the most honorable country in the world by any means, okay? There's definitely things like shady developers, like housing developers, right? Who will use subpar, materials and building standards to pop out real estate, like apartments, because the real estate market is booming over there, right? You can find out more about the subject from actual expats, that are living in the Far East, right here on YouTube, right? I've watched some of their stuff and I agree with them, right? Like, if you're an expat and you're looking for housing there, you might definitely get cheated out of your money, okay? At least by Western standards, right? You simply wouldn't feel the same level of trust in the local developers, right? Especially if Chinese is not your first language, right? So this can become very problematic. And to me, as a guy in his beginning of his middle age who's interested in investment, this is actually really, really relevant, right? What's gonna hurt you more? Let's say losing $30 because somebody picked your pocket on the street, or losing like $30,000 because you made an investment that turned out to be fraudulent, and then you couldn't find the developer after you bought an apartment that's starting to show its age 6 months after you bought it, right? Same concept, right? Like, there's definitely crime. It's just, I would call it white collar and polite crime is more likely than any type of violent crime that's sensational. So think about that. Depending on what you are going to China for. So I mentioned, one, for tourists, it's perfectly safe. One, as an individual investor, questionable. And really, there's yet another tail end on the corporate entry, right? If you're a big company and you're going to China, you face some level of, hesitation because of what the local custom is. That's an entirely other subject and not one that I have personal experience on, so I can't go into depth, but I have my opinion on that. Maybe let's save that for sometimes later. All right, cool. Hope that answered your question. Let me know if you have any other follow-ups, and have a good day.